Are you sure you've been cooking eggs the right way? It might seem simple, but whether you're boiling, frying, poaching, or making tamagoyaki, every method of cooking eggs has its own little secrets to get that perfect, tender texture and delicious flavor. Even the slightest mistake in temperature, timing, or technique can turn a light, fluffy egg dish into something rubbery or burnt to a crisp. So, how many of the right ways to cook eggs do you actually know? Today, I'm going to share 10 easy but incredibly effective egg cooking tips that can seriously level up your kitchen game in just a few minutes. Ready to get started? Let's go! To store eggs properly and keep them fresh for longer, we should avoid placing eggs with the pointed end facing up or laying them on their sides, as this can cause the yolk to shift and come into closer contact with air, making the eggs spoil more quickly. Avoid washing the eggshell before storing, since doing so removes the natural protective coating on the shell, which makes it easier for bacteria to get inside. The correct way to store eggs is to place them with the rounded end facing up and the pointed end facing down. This helps keep the yolk centered and stable, limits its exposure to air, and extends the egg's freshness. To check how fresh an egg is, you can fill a bowl with water and gently place the egg in. If an egg floats to the surface when dropped into water, it is a sign that the egg is old and no longer fresh. At this point, the air sac inside has expanded due to air entering through the shell, making the egg lighter and causing it to float. Eggs in this state have reduced nutrition, lost flavor, and may pose a food safety risk if spoiled. Conversely, when dropping an egg into water, if the egg sinks to the bottom and horizontal or tilted to one side, that is a sign that the egg is still fresh. Fresh eggs usually have a round, firm yolk and thick egg white. Therefore, choose eggs like this to ensure higher nutritional value compared to eggs that have been stored for a long time. When cracking an egg, the surface you choose makes a difference in both cleanliness and the quality of your dish. Cracking an egg on the edge of a bowl or plate usually creates sharp and uneven cracks, increasing the risk of shell pieces falling inside the egg. This not only causes hygiene issues, but also affects the quality of the dish. Try cracking the egg on a flat surface like a countertop. This will create even and wider cracks, making it easier to separate the egg and reducing shell fragments from falling in. This is the method recommended by professional chefs. When poaching eggs, many people tend to crack the egg directly into boiling water, but this often causes the whites and yolk to break apart and mix together. The egg loses its shape, creates foam, and ends up looking messy. To poach a nicely round egg, lightly coat a large ladle with a thin layer of oil, gently place the egg into the ladle, then hold the ladle over boiling water for a few seconds to let the egg white set. After that, slowly release it into the pot. This method helps the egg maintain its shape and stay tender, making it perfect for serving with breakfast, salads, and more. A simple way to tell the difference between a raw egg and a hard-boiled one is to try spinning them on a flat surface. A hard-boiled egg will usually spin smoothly and quickly because the inside is solid, allowing centrifugal force to work effectively. In contrast, a raw egg has liquid white and yolk inside, so it spins more slowly, wobbles, and is unstable. If you're unsure whether an egg is cooked, try this quick little trick. It's fast, easy, and doesn't require cracking the egg. If you boil eggs without any preparation, the shells often stick and are hard to peel, and the shape of the eggs can become slightly deformed. Before boiling, use a needle to poke a small hole in the rounded end of the egg. This creates a gap between the egg white and the shell, making it easier to peel later. Make sure to make the hole at the base of the rounded end. After boiling, place the eggs in ice water. This cools them quickly and causes the egg white to contract, creating a space that helps the shell come off more easily. The result is a smooth surface and a neat, attractive shape. When frying eggs, adjusting the heat is very important to achieve the ideal texture. If you fry eggs over high heat for a short time, the outer part of the egg white will quickly set, but the inner white and yolk will still be almost raw. Moreover, high heat makes the white turn rubbery, losing its softness and becoming tough. making it hard to get the fluffy, melt-in-your-mouth texture you want. On the other hand, you should fry eggs over low heat, after heating the pan and coating it with a thin layer of oil to prevent sticking. This method allows the egg to cook evenly, becoming fluffy and soft. Frying on high heat easily burns the bottom of the egg and ruins its light and smooth texture. That's why cooking over low heat keeps the egg tender and more delicious. If you add eggs to a pot of soup that's gently simmering over low heat, the eggs will turn cloudy and disperse slowly through the broth. On the other hand, if you pour beaten eggs into soup boiling over high heat, the eggs will clump up and solidify quickly, without spreading out as desired. For the best results, beat the eggs thoroughly before using. Then bring the soup to a boil over high heat and turn off the heat. While gently stirring the soup, slowly pour in the beaten eggs. Turning off the heat helps slow down the convection in the soup, allowing the egg to spread more evenly and giving it a light, fluffy texture. In this video, I'm using a clear broth to make it easier to see how the egg flows, but this tip works just as well with soups that contain other ingredients. Feel free to experiment with your favorite flavors to create a fluffy, nourishing egg drop soup. When making tamagoyaki, the Japanese rolled omelet temperature is the key factor that determines the softness and flavor of the final result. If you cook the eggs over medium or high heat, they can easily burn, become tough, and lose the signature light, fluffy texture. That's why it's important to cook slowly over low heat. Start by heating the pan on low and spreading a thin layer of oil to prevent sticking and to help the eggs cook evenly. When pouring in the egg mixture, divide it into several rounds, adding a thin, light layer each time. This slow cooking method helps the eggs stay soft and maintain a consistently fluffy texture. If the pan gets too hot, lift it off the heat briefly to better control the temperature. Even a little impatience can ruin the dish, since temperature has a clear impact from the very first layer. To make tamagoyaki soft, springy, and visually appealing, patience and careful attention are needed at every step. Now, use a sharp knife dipped in water before slicing to keep the cuts clean and prevent the egg from tearing. This last little tip is something I don't usually do myself, but it's quite common, and after trying it, I have to admit it works much better than I expected. Usually, when cutting boiled eggs with a regular knife, the yolk tends to stick to the blade, causing the cross-section to crumble and look messy. The right way is, place a layer of plastic wrap over the boiled egg before cutting, then slice straight down with the knife. The cut will be much cleaner, neater, and smoother. I tried it and was really surprised by the result. The yolk didn't stick to the knife at all, and the slice was very smooth. This is definitely a simple tip worth trying, especially if you want to present your dish more beautifully. I hope these egg cooking tips will be helpful to you in your everyday kitchen. Try applying them and enjoy eggs that are more delicious, visually appealing, and perfectly cooked than ever before. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe so you won't miss out on more great tips. Wishing you happy cooking and always delicious meals. Goodbye and see you in the next videos.